Paige Fallstrom and Carissa Malm's presentation on Bacillus anthracis bacterium features a modeled dairy calf on the left, and on the right we have a healthy mottled sheep that has been on our farm for 1 year. Anthrax is a large gram-positive, rod-shaped bacteria found throughout the world in mammals and soil. Anthrax forms endospores and requires oxygen as a terminal electron acceptor to maintain metabolism. The molecule can break down a cell membrane in nerve tissue using catalase and lecithinase. Anthrax spores have a protein coat that allows them to live for many years in a dormant state. On our hobby farm, our sheep suddenly died after we brought home a sick dairy calf. Both animals died and tested positive for anthrax poisoning. After further investigation, we found that the sheep had come into contact with a cut on the calf, therefore exposing it to anthrax. Cutaneous anthrax, which accounts for the vast majority of human anthrax cases, is a localized infection with generally mild systemic symptoms and characterized by a painless papule that is surrounded by edema, which can be quite extensive. The lethality of the disease is caused by the bacterium's two principal virulence factors, the polyglutamic acid capsule, which is anti-phagocytic, and the tripartite protein toxin, called anthrax toxin. Anthrax toxin is a mixture of 3 protein components: protective antigen, edema factor, and lethal factor. Individually, none of the 3 proteins are toxic. In order to function, lethal factor or edema factor must team up with polyglutamic acid, which is responsible for transporting lethal factor and edema factor into a target cell. Once inside the cell, lethal factor converts ATP to cyclic AMP, while edema factor disables MAPKKs, a family of signaling proteins. These attacks disrupt various cellular signaling pathways of macrophages and some other cells, essentially shutting down the host's immune system and often leading to death of the host. For the treatment against anthrax, penicillin is used, which is a narrow-spectrum antibiotic that works best on gram-positive bacteria by interfering with the synthesis of peptidoglycan. This weakens the cell walls of dividing bacteria, so they burst and die because of osmotic pressure. Anthrax travels by biting insects, wind, and flooding. Spores are found in the soil under dry, alkaline conditions. Flooding creates a nutrient-rich humus, which encourages the growth of the vegetative bacteria from the spores. The vegetative form flourishes in wet conditions, and spores form again when things dry out. Therefore, the cycles of flooding and drought distribute more and more spores to new areas.